Hello and welcome to another edition of Personal Health and Fitness. I'm your host, Chad Marshak. My program today is on foam rollers, and if you've watched this program before, you've probably have witnessed a couple of times, a couple of occasions that I've demonstrated some exercises using foam rollers. I haven't really talked too much about them, but I want to give you a brief overview of what foam rollers, what they're about, and some of the exercises that you can do. We work with a lot of runners, a lot of athletes that come here, and just regular Joes that have musculoskeletal issues, orthopedic issues, where we use foam rollers basically as a tool, not only to get stronger, but also to improve posture, to improve balance. And the best thing about these is that you can really use them as a self-massage tool. And it's really beneficial for what's called myofascial release. And we'll get into the nitty-gritty on some of the exercises that you can do in terms of self-massage, because I know a lot of people see a masseuse on a regular basis, and this would be a nice addition to your self-massage toolkit. So foam rollers, first of all, come in different densities. You'll see a black one here that I have, and this is the most dense one. Some people cannot handle the density of a black one. They may have to start with something a little bit softer. The marbled one here, the green and white's definitely a lot softer. I can squeeze that one, it has a lot more give. So some of the exercises that you can perform with foam rollers and some of the myofascial release exercises that you can do as well. A lot of people have to start softer before they move up to something a little bit more dense. We actually have some other rollers that actually have PVC tubing through the middle, and they're wrapped with another type of a foam material, which is really dense and very, very beneficial for certain people that have a high pain tolerance. So I just wanted to give you, again, a brief overview in terms of the density. They also come in different sizes. You can see that I have a 3-foot long ones. I've got a 3-foot long, basically a half of a foam roller cut in half. You can do a lot of different balance exercises. Again, posture exercises with the half ones as well. And then they come in smaller versions. The smaller ones that are about a foot long actually are good for traveling. So if you're a runner, you're going to a race, these are really great to throw in your suitcase and take along with you for traveling, because foam rolling oftentimes, at least from the myofascial standpoint, the self-massage standpoint, you're going to want to do a lot of these exercises on a near daily basis. So again, if you're traveling, you're going to a sporting event, maybe, I know the Gus Macro tournaments around the Midwest are really popular. I have a lot of people use these, wherever they go. Whenever they travel, they take a foam roller with them. So this is kind of what they look like. And let's go ahead and talk about, I'll get these out of the way, some of the different things that you can do. The show today, basically I've broken down into 4 areas I'm going to cover: strength exercises, balance exercises, posture exercises, and then myofascial release, the self-massage. So the first thing I want to start off is some of the strength exercises that you can perform with foam rollers. I'm going to start off with the half foam roller. Everybody's performed a regular squat where obviously you're squatting either with a barbell on your back or with dumbbells, or even performing single leg squats or just a body weight squat like I just demonstrated. You can actually use half foam rollers to stand on to add a little bit of a balance challenge. So this is kind of a 2-for-1 deal. You can use the foam rollers not only for strength but also for balance. So I'm going to take my little 1-foot long foam rollers, the half rollers, and I'm going to stand on them. You can see that they're kind of wobbly, so I've got to stabilize my body first before I even perform the exercise. So additionally, what's going to happen when I'm using an unstable apparatus like these little half rollers here, I've got a lot of the smaller muscles, all the intrinsic muscles, say around my knee and in my hip, and even my muscles in my back that have to work a little bit harder, as well as my core, to stabilize myself so I don't fall off the roller. So they look a little bit challenging, but they're not, once you get up here and kind of get used to it, it's not bad. So you can get up here, perform your squats, and I'll change the angle here, just as you would on the floor, except you've got an unstable surface that you're performing the squat on. So you could even load up your body if you wanted to hold a pair of dumbbells, say at shoulder height or down at your sides, you can do that as well. So that's what it looks like. So you've got the movement of the rollers that are moving in what's called the frontal plane. So your hip stabilizers are working that much harder compared to a solid surface, the flat ground. So the ground reaction forces, because they're different, cause my body to work a lot harder than they normally would if I were just standing on the ground. So even you could get rid of one of them and even perform a single leg squat. So now, instead of doing, say, a single leg squat where I'm on the ground, performing the squat, if I stand up on the roller, a half foam roller, I've got to get up here and really balance, and then I can perform the squat. So if I turn it around, you're going to see the play in the roller from the ground up. It's really wobbling. So my hip is really having to cook now to fire hard to perform this exercise. See, when I get to the top, I kind of have to fight it. I'll regroup and go back down. And ideally, I want to try to keep the foam roller as quiet as I can. If you're able to do that, that means that you're really in good alignment. You've got good balance, and your stabilizers in your hips, as well as your knee and your ankle joint, are really firing on all cylinders. So that's, again, a real basic strength exercise for the lower body, as well as balance. And now I'll show you some of the exercises you can do from a strength standpoint. Everybody's done a push-up probably on the ground, whether it's a modified push-up with your knees on the ground or with your knees off the ground. And I could give you dozens of different types of push-ups in terms of hand variation, foot variation, whether you're moving or in a stationary position. The foam roller, again, because it's unstable, if I get it on the ground and get in a push-up position, it wants to literally move. So that's going to force me to really activate muscles in my abdominals, the floor of my pelvis, my shoulder stabilizers, and my chest that much more. Again, because it's unstable, I've got to recruit more muscle fibers to perform this exercise. So I'm up into the push-up position, and you can see how it wants to move slightly. So I'm trying to stabilize it as best I can. I'm going to lower myself down to the ground and then push up. It's not too bad once you get used to it, but you've got to really, again, fire those muscles a lot harder in your core, through your chest and your shoulders. Now, if I want to, I can switch to the single individual foam rollers, which is an actual progression up. It's a little bit more of a challenge. So I'm placing the foam rollers again on the floor and going into my push-up. Now, I can even make it more of a challenge and perform chest abdominal exercises. I just call this is basically the spider walk forward. Some people call these mountain climbers. But I literally have to pick up the roller and move it. I'm trying to keep my body parallel to the floor, not elevate my hips. But my abdominals are working every bit as much as my chest, shoulders, and arms have to work. Because the unstable nature of the rollers really makes me have to work hard. You could also do that in a lateral position, a frontal plane movement position. So if I got into the push-up position here on the ground and walk here laterally, much more of a challenge. I'm trying to keep my hands underneath my shoulders when I perform this exercise. So you could do that for either a set amount of time or for a set rep scheme. Okay, so those are some basic strength exercises. Now I'm going to move on to some exercises for more balance. Okay, first exercise, the roller is a marching movement. And you're going to lie on your back. I'll change my angle here a couple of times. So I'm going to put my butt at one end and my head at the other end. And this is it looks easy, but it's really very challenging in terms of really getting my body to sync, to work together, kind of like a symphony where you have different sections of the orchestra have to chime in and perform their part. Same thing with your body. When you're on something that's unstable like this, you've got different body segments that have to work together to create movement. So my tailbone's at one end, my head's at the other end. I'm going to cross my arms over my chest. My feet are essentially beneath my knees, feet about hip width apart. And I'm going to fire my abdominals by flattening my back against the roller. And now I'm going to alternate lifting each foot. So now really the only thing that's in contact with the ground is obviously the roller and my left foot. I may hold that for maybe 5 to 10 seconds, and then I'll switch sides. So I really have to fire my abdominals hard so I don't roll off. It's very easy to roll off in this position unless everything's working together. So I'll lift my left foot now, and you can see that I'm kind of fighting here. You can see the roller moving ever so slightly. So ideally, when I lift my foot, each foot, I want to try to keep my foot and knee in alignment with my hips. That's really important. You don't want your foot to go off to the side or across your body. You can see I just about lost it when I did that. So you want to keep everything aligned properly when doing, I call this an alternating foam roller march. But a really, really good exercise, again, for your abdominals and the floor of the pelvis. So the next exercise I'm going to demonstrate on my back is a lower abdominal extension. And this is a pseudo balance / strength exercise. I'm going to press my hands into the floor. I'm going to lift my feet up off the ground. And I'm going to alternate straightening each leg. So again, I want to try to keep my spine glued to the roller at all times. And that'll continually force me to fire my abdominal muscles and really work my abdominal muscles. You'll get a little bit of a hip flexor action too because of the bicycle nature of the exercise. But another very good exercise. You can do that for a set number of reps or for a set amount of time, say 30 to 45 seconds. You can even ramp it up a little bit, and if you want, you can take one hand, place it on your chest, one hand on the ground. And this makes it much more challenging. You can see that I'm really fighting now, but it's doable with a little practice. So there are definitely progressions you can perform with all of these roller exercises. So there's an infinite number of progressions, different exercises you can do, you can experiment with, but just a really good tool for balance and stability. Okay. The next balance exercise I'm going to demonstrate, I'm going to use a little bit denser roller, but I'm going to actually stand on this roller. Again, you can see how it rolls nicely on the floor. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stand on the roller. Now this exercise is not what I would consider a circus trick. It's a legitimate exercise, but you want to make sure that you're safe, that you have somebody that's spotting you if you've never done this before. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stand up on the roller with both feet and perform a squat. So it's going to force. First thing I want to do is just get up on the roller and try to establish balance. Okay, now what the roller does, it's going to force me to have really good form when I do this exercise. Otherwise, I'm going to fall on my butt. So I'm trying to keep my spine in a nice angle. And once I establish good stability, and you can see I'm fighting this a little bit. So I'm going to go down in a pseudo squat, just a half squat, and then I'm going to stand up. If I have to regroup, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to step off, regroup, reset my feet. I want to try to get my feet at position my feet at about hip width or slightly wider. Again, you kind of have to play with it, find your best position of balance. You can see that I'm fighting a little bit here. These shoes probably aren't the best. Ideally, you want a flat sole shoe. My shoes have a lot of grooves in the bottom. I didn't even think about using different shoes, but you want to have a relatively flat sole shoe if you're going to do this type of an exercise, and not something that has a lot of grooves. You can even use your bare feet, which are probably the best way to do this exercise. So I'm just going to balance on it for today since I don't have good shoes to do a squat. I could probably do a couple of them and not fall on my butt. But normally if I'm in bare feet, I can do quite a few. So that's an exercise. Again, it's advanced. If you want, you can certainly use a half roller which makes it that much easier. You still have to fight, you can see, when I stand up here. You can either perform this exercise with the flat surface down, or you could even roll it over, which is a progression, a little bit more of a challenge. Okay? So squats either with a half roller. I'd start with a half roller and then move on to the single roller, again, if you want to advance that. Even single leg or dual leg, rather, balancing, where you have both feet on the roller here, is really going to work the hip stabilizers, the floor of the pelvis, and really work on balance. So even just performing this exercise either with the left foot forward or the right foot forward. And again, typically I'll do this for a set amount of time with clients that I work with. I may have them go into a very small squat or a half squat and stand up where they're moving. And a lot of different balance exercises you can do with the foam roller, which is really nice. Okay, next we're going to move on to, since we have a lot to cover in the myofascial release, the self-massage. I'm going to actually have somebody help me with that today. Quinn, come on out. This is my son, Quinn. You've heard me talk about Quinn and Riley at the end of my programs for 15 years now, and now he's going to demonstrate. Quinn, first thing we're going to do is I want to talk about the IT band. And matter of fact, I'm going to give you the other roller here, a little bit softer. We can pick it up with the camera better. So we're going to talk about roughly 8 myofascial release exercises you can do with the foam roller. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate how to release your IT band. Okay, Quinn, go ahead and have at it. And I'm just going to talk about it. The IT band, the iliotibial band, is oftentimes, which runs down the lateral aspect of your thigh, is oftentimes a really, really tight puppy in most people, especially runners. Just about anybody that I test initially, that whether they're physically active or inactive, has a tight iliotibial band. Iliotibial band really cannot be stretched. It has to be released. You see soccer players sometimes doing this crossover foot movement and try to stretch their IT band. It doesn't work, period. It's a waste of time, in my opinion. This really is the single best tool for your IT band. Patellar tracking can be improved by lengthening and or getting the IT band back to its normal shape and length. But because the IT band becomes really tight and develops a lot of what I call hot spots or really sore spots, it needs to be released with a foam roller. So this is a good release technique that you can perform. And what Quinn is doing, he's lying on the side of the roller and he's trying to locate any hot spots. And he's working from his hip down to his knee. And what do I mean by hot spots? Well, think of the IT band as a rope that runs down, kind of like the stripes in my Adidas shorts here that run down the lateral aspect of my thigh. What you're trying to do is you're on a seek and destroy mission. You're trying to find any of these little hot spots or areas that almost feel like a marble beneath your skin. And once you find that painful little area, you want to allow body weight, your own body weight, and gravity to release that area. So in roughly 20 seconds, you're going to find that that pain kind of dissipates. So the hot spot becomes smaller and less intense. Then you're going to move on to the next hot spot until you work again from your hip all the way down your knee. So it may take you up to 3-4 minutes for each leg. A lot of people, they'll have a particular area that is consistently tight or consistently sore. You know where to go after you try this a few times. In time, again, the intensity and the frequency in which you might need to roll to make it feel better is going to decrease. So obviously you're going to want to do both legs. So Quinn, we're not going to do both legs since we don't have a lot of time. But that's the basics for the IT band. Now let's go ahead and move on to the quadricep. So the quadricep, it's both thighs are on the foam roller. So you're going to position both thighs, start in your hip flexor region on the foam rollers. And what I like to tell people to do when doing the quad release is you want to be dominant on one leg or the other. So what I'm going to ask Quinn to do is just slightly roll to his right, and he's going to try to, again, find any little sore areas working from his hip flexor down to just above his knee. So he may need to internally and externally rotate his femur. Maybe he's going to experience more tightness in the lateral aspect of his thigh, or maybe more in the medial or the inner thigh, or maybe right through the belly of the quadricep. It really depends on each individual. You can also do a little trick, what I call foot pumps, where if you find a hot spot, you can bring your heel up towards your butt, and then you would just pump it a few times, say 5 foot pumps for each little sore spot. That's going to lengthen and shorten the quadricep and really give a little bit different release effect. You're going to feel it a little bit differently versus just not doing anything. So you can experiment with both, either just a static position where you're not moving your leg, or with a foot pump where you pump your heel towards your butt, say 4, 5, 6 times. So just a different myofascial release technique for the quad. Obviously, once you do one side, then you're going to want to roll and distribute your body weight to the other side and make sure you hit both sides. Okay, that's good, Quinn. Okay, so the next really important area that I like to hit for the hips and legs would be the external hip rotators. So let's go ahead and work on the hip rotators. So the hip rotators are often very tight on a lot of individuals. So the glute medius, glute minimus, piriformis, people, runners especially, have heard about piriformis. A lot of people that have back pain have heard about the sciatic nerve. Well, the sciatic nerve oftentimes runs right through the piriformis, and if the piriformis muscle in the hip is tight, then it really needs to be released, and that's a hard area to stretch. This release technique is a really good one for that. So you're going to place your hip, the medial side of your butt, up on the roller, and you're going to flex the knee of that hip and place the ankle on top of your knee. So Quinn is actually releasing his right glute, so he's flexing his right knee, placing his right ankle on his left knee. And again, he's trying to, you see how he's kind of up on his forearm? He's in good form. You can actually get up on your hand if you want. So if you want to elevate up onto your hand, it's again a little bit different in terms of the forces applied to the hip. And again, you're trying to really manipulate and roll your hip around on the roller to find any hot spots. You know, once you find a real sore spot, again, just nail it. Let gravity and your body weight just apply pressure to release the tissue and to normalize it again. Any sore spots there for you, Quinn? Mm-hmm. Couple. He's got a good one right there in his hip. I can see he has a smile on his face. That means, Dad, this hurts. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, good, Quinn. So obviously, a lot of people have more issues related to their right hip or your left hip. It really just depends structurally how you're built, the activities that you perform. So you may have one side of your body that is consistently painful compared to the other side. And don't worry about it. Just spend more time on that quote-unquote bad side. All right? So let's move on to the hamstrings and the quads real quick. So why don't you have a seat on the ground. Let's do the calves first. I said hamstrings and quads. I meant hamstrings and calves. So we're going to do the calves next. So the calf one, you're going to place the meat of your middle of your calf on top of the roller. And I like to do this. I like to take the other foot, drape it over the other one, and just rest it there. And you're going to use your hands and kind of elevate your hips, and you're going to roll forward and back. And again, it's really important to change the angle here. So you may need to, again, internally or externally rotate your femur a little bit, which is going to either get the lateral or medial aspect, either the outer or inner aspect of your calf, any of those little sore spots. And once you find that sore spot, do you have any sore areas there, Quinn?
Right there.
He's got one right there, he says. So he's just going to, again, allow the weight of his leg, which is applying more pressure. If that's too much, just do this. Take the foot off. Even that may be enough for Quinn. But I like to advise people to perform this movement, this exercise, one calf at a time. A lot of people stretch their calves and it doesn't do the trick. This foam roller is an excellent release technique to really try to get all those little marbles beneath your skin, all those little painful areas, to dissipate in time. And a lot of people have really benefited by doing this technique on their calves. Feel all right, Quinn? Okay, so now we're going to move on to his hamstrings. Quinn, just roll forward. Okay, hamstrings, another culprit for a lot of people, especially a lot of runners. And as we get older, oftentimes our hamstrings become really tight. So you're going to elevate yourself, and you're going to roll from just above behind your kneecap to your crease of your glute. All right, and you can do both at the same time, or again, you can do that technique that I like to use, where I may do one leg at a time. And again, if you find any tight areas, just nail it. How's that feel? Nothing. Okay. So those are the main areas I wanted to talk about in terms of the myofascial release technique. In terms of the posture exercise, we have just a few minutes left. Let's go ahead and talk about a couple of things real quick. First of all, let's do the thoracic spine. So thoracic spine is your middle back, the thoracic T1 through T12, the first vertebrae all the way down to the 12th vertebrae. And what you're going to do is you're going to just lie across the foam roller. As we get older, oftentimes you see a lot of people like this. You know, they become kyphotic, rounded in their upper back. Part of that's age. Part of that just has to do with congenital abnormalities, how you were born, and some of it has to do with activities, all right? A lot of people work out here in front of themselves, you know, all day long at a desk. Runners have this oftentimes. And you're going to start off by placing your shoulder blades across the roller, hands behind your head to support your neck in a neutral position, and you're just going to slowly roll. I'm pulling him. Obviously, you can do this on your own. You don't need anybody to pull you. You're not going to go quite that low. But you're going to work from, say, mid-back, just below your shoulder blades, down to the bottom of your rib cage. And you're going to go back and forth 4 or 5 times. And after you do that 4 or 5 times, each vertebrae slowly, up and down, then you're going to place your hips on the ground and just simply lean back. Keep your head in a neutral position. And you want the roller beneath your shoulder blades ever so slightly. This is going to allow you to extend your thoracic spine to really lengthen it. I have a lot of surgeons that I work with, and this is one of my favorite exercises for them because they're over an operating table. Several dentists and orthodontists I've worked with too. They're kyphotic. This is a great exercise. Great postural exercise. Usually I'll put someone here for about a minute to release their spine. Okay, Quinn, last exercise. Let's go ahead and do the snow angel. So butt at one end, head at the other. And then the last exercise I'm going to demonstrate today on the foam roller is a snow angel. Again, this is a really good posture exercise. And you're really focusing on working your middle and middle and lower traps. Let's get a turn real quick to the side, Quinn. That's good. That's good. So the snow angel, you're going to try to pull your chin down, keep your cervical spine flat, flatten your entire spine against the floor. And you're going to do that for a series of about 15 reps. Just back and forth, just like you did when you were a kid. Okay, that's good, Quinn. We're out of time today. Quinn, thanks for helping. I appreciate it. Well, that's all the time we have for personal health and fitness today. If you have any questions about what we do here at Body Symmetry, make sure you give us a call. Again, check out our great website, freefitnessvideos.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Chad Marshak. Thanks, Quinn. Appreciate it. Hey, Riley.